The Bitcoin price keeps on dropping, guys. Literally yesterday, the Fed had cut the interest rates. However, Bitcoin immediately started dropping. Even though this was actually some bullish news, we are seeing a drop on Bitcoin. And I also lost a long trade a couple of hours ago. However, I also think that unfortunately, Bitcoin has the possibility of dropping even further. And also that this drop isn't even the beginning of the real actual full drop. I'm going to explain to you guys why and how I lost the trade, and also where's the closest area to think about possibly getting into a trade. However, the closest area is very far below, hence why I need to explain to you guys where's the most important area to be on the lookout for. Make sure to watch this video till the end. It's not going to be as structured, however you must watch it because we are going to talk about some important bullish and bearish possibilities and scenarios. Because as you have seen right now on Bitcoin, I literally posted on my Telegram and I told you guys that I want to be transparent. I had longed Bitcoin once we had seen a drop. This was previously actually an important area of support. I told you guys that when the Bitcoin price had gone up, we had been following our plan of us holding the 107 long trade and never closing it, and even starting to flip bullish. When we had us flipping it from resistance to support would make us super bullish, and the technical target would be actually 119.5. I told you guys that technically the target would be 119.5. However, we've seen Bitcoin, and I was actually wrong on this, that we've seen Bitcoin hit the high of 116, as you can see here, us taking liquidity from the upside, and then we dropped. The idea and the technical idea was very reasonable for us to try and long this drop, because as I told you guys, I never think about shorting when the price is going down. What I did actually is wait for Bitcoin. Once we had seen the Federal Reserve Bank cut their interest rates, which is bullish, we had seen it drop to 111.2, and I told you guys that I'm going to long this area, not because I'm expecting the price to go up, however just because I always look about looking or spotting the best support area where it logically makes sense in terms of structure. As you can see, we've been making higher highs and higher lows, and I've been looking always to buy the dips. As you can see, me trying a long at 111 did not quite work, because what happened and what is happening right now is Bitcoin has lost this area. The area that was keeping us from dropping even further now is actually resistance. As you can see, I'm going to share the most bearish scenario that would take actually Bitcoin for a heavy drop right now. Viewing Bitcoin within a technical range, we had seen Bitcoin right now, as I told you previously guys, that when we had been in the midway point from this range, as you can see here, let's make it yellow. As you can see, we were in this and we are still actually in this range. I told you guys there's a high likelihood of two things happening. Me, technically, I see that this high is very poor and we are probably going to visit it, and also there's a high likelihood, as I told you, if you're following me from the beginning, since we had made this huge wick, as you can see here on Bitcoin, when we saw this drop, I told you guys there's also still looming over our head the possibility of us going back. It's still technically a high likelihood of us hitting back and filling down the wick. So I told you guys that I'm going to be expecting the area to the upside to be hit and the area to the low side or the lower side to be hit. And what happened, basically, I had the idea of us holding the 107 long trade, and then we saw a flip from resistance to support a 110.5, and I told you right now, technically we had the harmonic, we had the value area rotation idea of us holding this area and then targeting 119. However, what happened, basically Bitcoin decided, I had the idea of actually shorting at 119, but Bitcoin actually decided not to give me this amazing short. I had the plan of us going higher, holding the 107 long and then shorting at 119, and then seeing a drop for us to go back down and take liquidity from the lower side. As you can see here, as I told you over on the Moon's Weekend show and also on my own Champs Crypto, I was planning to have the short open from all-time high and then wait for a push higher till 119 for me to get actually the second best short at 119, and then actually going lower to filling down the wick. However, technically right now Bitcoin seems to be doing my plan, going towards my plan, however not actually allowing me to short, rather than just slightly hitting this area, and now we are going down. It is a case-based prediction where if we hold or we manage to hold this line as resistance, which is at $111,000, we are going to be not trying to long literally randomly, because we can technically view us hitting an amount of liquidations that was going to happen. So I want you guys not to be fearful if a drop happens. I'm not going to tell you guys that, I'm not telling you guys Bitcoin will definitely drop. However, since we had an amazing support, I was bullish. I was waiting for a higher plan for a short. It didn't happen. I wanted to tell you guys that I was wrong. I took a hit with a stop loss, and right now I'm going to be waiting for lower price. It only makes sense for us while holding this area, which was actually what I based my bullishness on. Now I'm going to base my bearishness on while we are under $100,000, $111,000. Are going to be waiting for this area. Hence why if a drop happens, please do not be actually fearful or be actually shocked with the drop. It's going to be very technical. If it happens, I always view it as the best area and the best chance for us to long, because I had literally this buy zone from I think about 2 weeks ago. Since we had seen this drop, I told you guys about the idea of us filling down the wick and going much lower to look for a long. So if a long comes to us, if a drop comes to us, I'm never going to be fearful. So if I'm wrong, I'm always going to not fear away from telling you guys the correct and transparent truth. Hence why I'm going to be waiting for lower prices to come on Bitcoin. Thanks for watching, guys.